Hey friends, this is Miss Wolfie from our Half Acre Homestead with what's going on. It is 5:40 a.m. Friday the 13th, March 2015. You guys took me at my word and have sent a lot of questions, so I'm going to do my best to answer some of them for you. First and foremost, somebody wanted to know why you don't debubble raw when you're canning raw meat. Well, because you're not adding water. When you add liquid, you have to get the air bubbles out because they will actually trap air bubbles in your food. So if you are canning cooked ground beef with broth, yes, you have to debubble anything that you're adding liquid to. Raw meat makes its own liquid and pushes its own bubbles out. It's not an issue. So you don't have to debubble raw when you're raw canning meat. Is there a homesteading community or organization to assist people to start? Financially, doubtful. But the community of YouTube, the homesteading community of YouTube, has one of the most vast resources of information. If you can't find it from one, you'll find it from another. And there's a lot of us out there. And a lot of people a lot smarter than me. So what you do is you look for the homesteaders that have been around the longest and who have the largest following. Not because it's a popularity thing, but if they've got a large following and they've been around a while, obviously people are taking their tips and using them and finding them good, useful. Or because, face it, people wouldn't be around that long if they weren't, if the information they were giving was not good. But not everybody, that's saying not everybody on YouTube knows what they're talking about. I mean, I've made mistakes. But if there's someone out there, say, who makes mistakes and owns up to it, that's really important too, because you want honest information. All right. So just start looking up homesteading on YouTube and start looking for the tried and true folks that have been around a while. Just kind of like my little brother J0. He may pretend not to be a teacherologist, but he's actually got a lot of really good information out there. Is it difficult to obtain a visa to Canada? I don't know. I was born here, so I really don't know. Are there jobs that don't require bilingual abilities? Yeah, there's lots of jobs that don't require bilingual abilities. The only time you need to be bilingual is if you're in a government job, you're working in New Brunswick or Quebec or Ottawa. Okay, so New Brunswick is a bilingual province. Quebec is a unilingual province which speaks French. But there are some jobs you can get away with, but not many if you just speak English. And in Ottawa, because they're so close to Quebec, you pretty much have to be bilingual, especially if you're getting a government job. Anywhere in Canada, government jobs, you have to be bilingual. How does the healthcare system work? Are you planning on moving here? The healthcare system it works as it works. I don't know. I don't really have much else to compare it to. You get a health card. You don't pay for it. Your doctor's visits are free, except for people like me who live in Quebec, but my doctor is in Ontario. I pay $20 a visit because the provincial health care doesn't necessarily cover the difference between Ontario and Quebec. So, but no, you get a health card, you get a doctor, and your doctor visits are free. Your prescriptions aren't unless you have a healthcare plan that covers your prescriptions. And surgeries and all that stuff are free unless they're like a cosmetic surgery or something that is not necessary. Okay? So, and there's a waiting list sometimes for surgeries because unless, I guess if you wanted to go in faster, you could pay for some surgeries, but most surgeries are taken in order of necessity. So that's how our healthcare system works. If I go to the emergency room or I go to the doctor or anything like that, it doesn't cost me anything. Okay. Barb here. Oh, yeah, I already did that one. Barb here. I think this is Barb. had a lot of questions. Okay, what investment pieces of equipment would you recommend for this kind of life? Well, that depends on how big your property is. I mean, if you have a property bigger than a half acre, I recommend a good rototiller. We rent one, but one of these days we're going to buy one. A good a good large pressure canner and a medium-sized pressure canner. Folks, somebody asked me if I would recommend using an electric pressure cooker to can in. No. A pressure cooker is a pressure cooker. A pressure canner is used for canning and can be used for cooking. So I'd say a good dehydrator, a good pressure canner, a rototiller if you can afford one. Always, 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 if you can afford one, have a generator and start looking at alternative sources of energy. And of course, you can't live without a good hoe, rake, and those are the kind of things you need. And if you're going to get into animals, research first. Get some books on backyard chickens, or follow some tried and true homesteaders that have been around for a while who know what they're doing. What skills are necessary to live this life economically? Common sense. Common sense. That's all I got to say. If you want to live this life economically, then you want to know how to bargain. You want to know how to look for bargains. And you want to know how to barter if you can. I don't get a lot of barter out here because people just don't do it. And we keep a lot to ourselves. We're, the Anglophones that moved into the hills. So we get circled and people look at us kind of funny. So we've been in this area for 7 years and people are just starting to nod to us. So. How to begin this adventure past the age of 50? Well, check your health at the door. We started this lifestyle in our 40s because, we started it a lot sooner when the kids were young, but we didn't know what we were doing as good back then as we do now. This became a life choice in our 40s for one simple reason. We didn't like the way the food industry was going. And we wanted to be more self-reliant. So, check your health. If your health, come on, guys, I'm a gimp. I can't go out in the garden anymore. I'm not allowed out in the garden without my walker and my cell phone in case I fall. And Howie's thinking about building me raised beds today. There's no age limit on the desire for freedom. And every time you grow your own food, you're giving yourself the freedom away from not being able to trust even the fresh produce in your grocery store because you don't know if it's GMO or if it's loaded with pesticides. So every step you make, even if it's just a garden and 5 or 6 chickens, that's where you start. You start real small and you work your way up, because you can overwhelm yourself really easy. I wish I could learn by your side the skills you have acquired. Honey, if I opened a school, and I don't consider myself a teacher at any rate, but if I could if I could count everybody who wanted to be by my side helping, that would be wonderful. Helping and us learning together. I would have to open like a municipal building or something, because I hear that every day. And that's why one of the reasons I started the YouTube channel is so that I could share the things that I have learned in the past and the things I'm learning today. Where or who do you learn your skills from? My mom died when I was 9, but she came from a family of 15 children. I always thought it was 13, but we did the math one day and it was 15. And, just because we lived in the city, it didn't mean there wasn't, they were born in the country first. And my grandmother apparently knew all this stuff. And she, knew how to put weeds on sores and brew up medicinal teas and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's in your blood. I really think it's in your blood that you have a thirst for learning. Because before the magic age of the internet in like the late 80s, early 90s, I spent most of my winters in the library, eh, honey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you later.
All right. Have a good day. Drive safely, please.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to everybody.
Bye, everybody.
For those who want to know what time he goes to work, it's 10 to 6. He's leaving now. I learned the skills from other people, other like-minded people, but at first I started them with the library. And that was before the internet. I would find interesting books, I would take them out, and if I really found anything really interesting, I would borrow the photocopier at the library and I would photocopy stuff off and keep it in a book at home. What sources do you recommend? Library, websites. Like I said, not everybody on the internet knows what they're talking about, so go with the tried and true folks that have a following. Not because they're popular, but because they have a following. They have a following because, for the most part, they know what they're talking about. And library. Never, books. I know this is the electronic age, but you can never have too many books on good information. Do you feel this may be your calling in life? What, my YouTube channel or my homesteading? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to say both. I wanted to live on a farm my entire life, even though I was born in downtown Toronto. Is it my calling? I don't know if I'd call it a calling. I just know that I like to share what I've learned throughout my life, and I'm still learning every day, and I like to share that too. So if that's a calling, then yes. Yes, that I guess it is. Where can you cut expenses in tough economic times? Always start with the simple stuff. If you can make it from scratch, don't buy prepackaged food. Don't. It may take a little more effort, but if you buy 10 packages of instant flavored potatoes that have 13 ingredients and you buy them for on sale, what were they on sale for last week? 88 cents. Okay, A, they're full of additives because they're prepackaged. B, you're going to get 8 meals for $8.88. Whereas for $8.88, you can buy a bag of potatoes, a pound of hamburger, and a bag of onions, and you have the basis for a broader meal with more choices and more health. Never make the minimum. If you have debts, always try and make more than the minimum payment, even if it's only $5 more, for the simple reason as everything over and above the minimum payment comes off your principal and helps you get out of debt. So tough economic times we have, but I mean, genuine good old savvy. Don't throw away, when you get garbage bags, don't throw away the twist ties, even if you don't use them and you tie the bag shut by the plastic. Twist ties are always handy to have. Don't throw out something if you think it can be useful. And I'm not talking about hoarding. I'm talking about, my dryer lint. I save my dryer lint in a bag throughout the winter, and I make fire starters out of toilet paper rolls, old butcher string, and dryer lint. That could be considered hoarding, but not if you're actually using it. And so, think twice before you spend money on something like a cup of coffee, or at a donut shop, or eating out, or because eating out is nowhere near as good as what you can make at home. All those things. Just stop and think before you spend money. Stop and think about how you can cruise when you're in the grocery store. Cruise those aisles. When you're in especially like the produce aisle, okay? There's usually a cart that has a marked down thing, and just because they're marked down doesn't mean they're not good. And a lot of times you can cook and freeze stuff that has been put on the marked down produce aisle. And I know I'm babbling, it's early in the morning. So there's lots of ways you can cut corners and save nickels. And if you really want to do it, calculate how much you're saving and put it in a piggy bank, and you'll find out how much you're saving. How do you decide and plan on doing your videos? I don't plan them. They pretty much just pop in my head and go. Let's put it this way. If I think it's interesting to, if it's interesting to me, there's going to be somebody out there that it's going to be interesting to as well. Not always, but you know. What tools and equipment and gadgets would you say are absolutely necessary? Well, I would call anything absolutely necessary, I would call a tool. And my pressure canner, my dehydrator, my generator, my oil lamps, are, you know, those things are all absolutely necessary. Jars, lids, those things are all absolutely necessary. Helpful but not really necessary. Things like choppers and stuff. Oh, you always need a good set of knives. You always need a good set of knives. Helpful but not really necessary. Crock pots aren't really necessary, but I have 3 of them. I don't know. I don't really buy something unless I find it necessary. And everything else is usually given to me. Gadgets are given to me. So, what tools are pleasant and fun to your homesteading way of life? What tools are pleasant and fun? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe my quilting frame, but I also think of that as a tool and as necessary. So I really don't know. Honestly, don't know how to answer that. Anyway, I hope I answered some of your questions. I'm going to be doing a follow-up soon. I'm switching over to a credit union, and I honestly, folks, did not know that credit unions weren't banks. I just thought that they were a different kind of bank. But apparently, they're not. And they are local in a sense that there's no world corporation head over there. They're usually statewide or province-wide. And you are a shareholder. You're not just a client who they're trying to get money from. You're a shareholder. So I'm really pleased with that transition and with everybody's suggestions and help with that. That's been really important, especially my little brother John, who said to me, "Don't you folks have credit unions in Canada?" And he explained to me what a credit union was. It makes a huge difference. So we're doing that this week. We've got a package coming next week from the credit union, and we're going to be turning stuff over real soon. This is the Mrs. Wolfe from our half-acre homestead saying, have a great weekend, and we will be talking to you. Take care. Bye-bye.